Tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai. Welcome to the first in our series of 5 webinars focusing on the Climate Action Toolbox and the action areas within the toolbox. I'm Phil, I'm the leader climate-related work at the Sustainable Business Network. And
Kia ora everyone, ko Holly toku ingoa. Yeah, my name's Holly and I'm a project manager at SDN and have been working on climate action work with Phil.
Cool. So yes, I think many of you might be familiar with the toolbox and some of the background, but for those who aren't, we developed the toolbox over the last 6 months. It was launched 6 weeks ago. We done it with the help of our partners who have basically enabled this work to happen. And they are BNZ, ICA, NZ Trade and Enterprise. We're actually in their offices, so thank you to NZTE, Meridian Energy, Waka Kotahi, and Business.govt, one of the teams at MB. And that is obviously where the toolbox is hosted on their platform. And also a shout out to DNA, who helped us design and develop the platform. So yeah, we've, as I say, it was launched 6 weeks ago. We've had some really positive feedback in terms of usage of the tool. You know, we've had getting on for 10,000 visitors to the toolbox so far, so that's really good. And a large portion of those have actually, you know, are actually engaging with it by doing the assessments and the follow-on activities. So we'll go through some of that in terms of how the toolbox works for those who haven't looked at it before. We're obviously continuing to promote it. You may well have seen some of our promotions online, and we're also, our partners are also helping us to promote it. So we'll continue to do that. And one of the other things that's been really good is the number of other organisations not involved in the development of the tool who are helping us promote it as well. So a shout out to those people as well. Thanks very much. So yeah, so we're running this series of webinars every week. We're focusing on a different part of the toolbox. Just in terms of the background to why we developed the toolbox, we did some research in terms of what were the barriers or the challenges, but also the opportunities for smaller businesses to get engaged in climate action. And that research, qualitative research, kind of confirmed what our, you know, thoughts were going into it. That's, you know, their time poor, cost, you know, they've got very little scope to spend money on things. So cost is a problem. A lack of knowledge also came out as one of the key things, and also that those that did, you know, explore what they might do, it was often a confusing landscape for them in terms of where to start. So this is what the toolbox has specifically been designed to help, in terms of being that place where any smaller business especially, but also it can be larger businesses, as a place for them to start on, you know, their climate action journey. So that's a bit about the background. I mean, it's designed to be, you know, a self-serve experience for any business. It's obviously free, but it also can be used as a support tool for those who provide services to businesses to, you know, engage with their clients. So there's no sort of constraint on how people want to use the tool. Whoever could get value from it. So I think that's probably in terms of the background. We're very keen to you know, hear your questions as we go through. So please use the feature at the bottom of your screen. We will have a Q&A session at the end. But if there are questions which it might be good to, you know, answer on the way through, we'll do that as well. I think that's it, Holly. Do you want to kick off with the intro to the toolbox?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've kind of answered, you know, why we created it and the barriers that we were getting from SMEs in terms of taking climate action. So we really wanted to create a platform that was a sort of one-stop shop for any business wanting to get started, wanting to learn about the different areas they can make the most change and make the most impact in terms of reducing their emissions. We also really wanted to, climate change is, we're in the climate change crisis, like we all need to start acting now. So we wanted to normalize and mainstream taking climate action as much as possible. So hence why we're very lucky to be on the business.gov site. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but it's a site for any small business to go and learn about, taking their business online, looking after their staff, just general marketing. So all the things that businesses need to be thinking about by having our climate action toolbox on there as well. But really trying to normalize it and get it out there to as many people as possible. So we've created a short explainer video. So I think we'll share that now. It's only a couple of minutes and it clearly describes how the toolbox can be used.
The impacts of climate change are being felt everywhere. It's time for urgent action. And that's why we've come together and created something to help Kiwi businesses to get started. It's called the Climate Action Toolbox. The Toolbox is a free and simple to use self-assessment tool, and you'll find it on the award-winning business.govt.nz platform. The Toolbox focuses on key areas to help reduce your carbon footprint, whether you're in an office, factory, or out and about, how you move people and goods, and how your products are designed and made. You'll get tailored advice based on your business. Explore actions with simple step-by-step guides and learn where you can make the most impact. Shortlist your favourite ideas and save your plan so you can come back later. And be motivated by what other businesses, just like yours, are already doing. There are some great benefits to taking climate action. Sure, you'll probably sleep better, but you could also save money, boost your sales and reputation, attract and keep staff, and inspire other businesses to be more sustainable. Be part of the team. Start taking climate action today. Together, we can make a difference.
Fantastic. So as you'll see in the video, there are 5 key areas of priority areas, and today we're obviously focusing on moving people, so we will dive into that soon. We'll also be sharing our screen and walking you through how to use the self-assessment and sort of the different options that can come up when you have a play around with the questions that are there. So I think before we get into the moving people, we've got a couple of polls for you. So first one being, have you visited the Climate Action Toolbox? Be honest, it's okay if you haven't. And then how far along have you got when you visited it? So if you tipped out the landing page, completed the self-assessment, but not yet developed an action plan, or you have developed an action plan. And those that have checked it out, what impact areas were the high priority for you? Cool, we'll just keep that live for a little bit longer. Awesome, maybe 10 more seconds. Keep those answers coming. Cool. All right, I'm going to end it there. Share results. Interesting. So 80% of you have checked out the Climate Action Toolbox already, which is great. And then in terms of the identified high priority impact areas, we've got moving people coming out on top. So that's great that you guys are here and listening to what we're going to talk about soon. And then office operations. So that's good as well. Next week, we will be looking into office operations and exploring that in a bit more depth. Cool. Okay, Phil, over to you.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, Holly. So just a bit of background in terms of moving people, and I'm sure many of you are, have an awareness of the importance of, you know, from an emissions reduction point of view, how important, you know, how we get around is to actually making a dent in our emissions profile. So really, for New Zealand, it's all about cars and carbon in terms of, you know, climate change mitigation. After farming, the largest contributor to our emissions is our transport sector, and specifically our road transport sector. So that represents around about 17–18%, the road transport sector, for all our emissions. So it's a really important area. And no surprises in terms of, you know, we are such a car-dominated, you know, transport system. Basically, we've got over 4 million cars or light vehicles, you know, basically one for every adult. It's a shocking statistic, really. It's one of the highest per capita rates in the world. So, yeah, really important that we, you know, address that challenge in terms of how to have a more efficient transport system. Peter use is increasing. It's doubled in Auckland over the last 15 or so years. Until the last year, when it's gone back to where it was all that time ago. So that's really good. But overall, how we get around is probably the lowest hanging fruit in terms of reducing our emissions. And if we're going to get to reducing our emissions substantially by 2030, which the science tells us we need to do, you know, globally, by, you know, up 30 to 50%, particularly in terms of our CO2 emissions, then transport's the thing, really. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Climate Change Commission draft advice, which was released a couple of months ago, and I'm sure many of you submitted on that. So it'll be very interesting. That was very interesting advice. It'll be interesting how the initial feedback on that has been reflected in the final advice that goes to the government at the end of this month, actually, very quick. So yeah, heavy focus on electrifying the fleet. Which is good, but it's not the whole picture. There's also obviously the need to radically improve levels of public transport, and particularly active transport as well. So yeah, that's the bit of the background. Have I missed anything?
No.
Okay,
good.
Cool. Do you want to share the tool?
Yes, that's good. So now what we're going to do is run you through, we're going to show you the toolbox and run you through the self-assessment and go through an example that has moving people as a priority area, and then we're going to dive into that, looking into the themes and a couple of key actions within it. So, sorry, this one.
Yeah.
Cool. So, like the poll suggested, 80% of you have checked out the tool, so you would have hopefully seen this homepage. This has got some good background information, and I would definitely recommend checking it out, as well as our partner organisations and all of our case studies at the bottom. You can see them, view them all there. So have a look around there. But in terms of the self-assessment, so we're going to use SBN as an example. Our main office is based in Auckland. So we're an office-based organisation. We don't have any products. So let's. So our business activity mostly takes place in an office. We also work at home as well, but let's just do office for this case. Our people travel frequently and frequently or don't travel for work. Phil, what would you say?
I'd probably say travel infrequently for work. Yeah.
And mostly?
Let's put long distance, because when we do travel, it's often, you know,
events.
Yeah. So let's do that one. Typically business meetings, isn't it?
Business meetings, yep. And our core operations requires or doesn't require the transport of goods, materials, or waste?
Yeah, it doesn't require. I mean, obviously we get some goods, but it's not the purpose, you know, it's not essential to our purpose.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of the design and manufacture of products, we don't do that. Great, so take me to my climate actions.
And just to say that the assessment approach that we've got on for this tool is similar approach to the other tools on the Business Gov platform, which has kind of proven to be a very good way of getting engagement.
Absolutely. So number 1 is moving people. Fantastic. So we go into this. And so we have some filters here available as well. So the purpose of them is to sort of personalize this to your business even further. And then, yeah, so for us as SBN, we do own a car. We've got a hybrid and we do fly for business purposes. So I'm going to leave that unticked as well. Our people don't use their own cars or taxis for business purposes. We do on occasion. Our people don't drive to work. That is true. We're based in Auckland CBD and no one drives to work. So continue. So under moving people, we've got 4 key themes. So we've got company cars, flying, other business travel and commuting. And then under each of those themes, we have a number of actions. So because no one drives, the commuting impact area theme, has been marked as not relevant because all of our staff currently get to work via public transport, walking or biking. Hence, but you can still view it and have a look what's under there as well. Am I missing anything, or do we want to jump into some?
I think we can jump in. Yeah. So what we thought would be helpful, or a way to kind of show you what the toolbox provides, is to dip into a few of these themes and select a few actions and just introduce you to some of the more detailed content within this. So as Holly says, within each of these themes, so within the company car theme, we've got a number of actions, and the user can select or add any of these actions to their climate action plan at the top here. So this just gives a bit of instruction, suggestion, choose a few actions to start your action plan or list, tick complete when done. So that's the idea with this, is we just want to get users to just select a few actions to focus on those, get them completed, and then move on to new things. It can sometimes be a bit daunting to see this big long list of actions, so we very much emphasize that we just want users to just select a few that might help them just to get started. So what we'll do is just drop into a number of these, and it's probably a good way of kind of showing the experience that we're trying to get across for users. So the first one, use company cars more efficiently. This cuts to a general approach we've taken with defining these actions. Is broadly, there's actions which are about making more efficient use of what equipment, assets that a business currently has, as one option, and then the other option is to actually choose more efficient modes. So with cars, switch to electric, or go to car share or electric car share. So things like that. So that's the broad approach we've taken. So firstly, let's tick, we want to do this, use company cars more efficiently. So by clicking that, then that appears in the action list at the top here. So diving in, each of these actions has a guide page. If you haven't visited, got to this stage of the platform. One other thing to say, I think there's quite a few of you who've joined today who belong to larger organizations and businesses. This tool may well be useful to you, but also it could be certainly helpful to your supply chain and your customer base as well. So as mentioned earlier, we're keen to, for any help in promoting it to your wider networks. Anyway, so what options we've got here? So this it is a step-by-step, but it's intended not to be too prescriptive, just really ideas about what you can do. So let's dip into this. One of the things you'll see if you go through the tool is we have a lot of, we've obviously been careful to choose authoritative external sites that have good information. We didn't want to duplicate unnecessarily information on this platform when it's held elsewhere. GenLess in particular, that's the ECA initiative, is a prime source for the Toolbox, and we've got lots of links to their information. So thanks to them. So you know, you may well be familiar with their website as well. It has heaps of good information. One of the things I'm going to try to find here is in terms of making more efficient use of your vehicles, there is a way of, if I can find it somewhere, where am I going? I don't want to get too confused. You know, there's things like comparing car efficiency, and you can, let me just check that I've got the right one here. There is a lot of good information. Here we go. Yes. So this is quite a useful little tool for any, it's basically a database of most vehicles in New Zealand. So you can just plug in your rego or rego of your company vehicles and just find out what the nameplate rating is for different aspects. Fuel economies, obviously these are the ones that are particularly of interest to us. Fuel economy gives an idea about, you know, average cost for, you know, average use of a vehicle. Also carbon emissions, it gives an indication of the, you know, the emission rate per kilometre for the vehicle. And 140 is kind of okay, but not very good really. Obviously for an electric vehicle it will be down to 0. So anyway, it's a really useful way of just navigating, you know, finding out more information by searching through the ECA GenLess site. Driver actions is really key. Another very useful tool here is to kind of emphasize the different things you can do to make your current vehicles more efficient. Let's see, it's ticking over. My laptop is misbehaving today. Not the best timing. Here we go. So again, you know, we can add, this is actually Holly's car. Calling you out. And then you can get an idea as to what would be the impact in terms of actually cost reduction, but obviously fuel cost emissions. How far you travel, you can just, you know, do you have fuel efficient tires? So it's really a good way of emphasizing the different sorts of things that contribute to, you know, a less efficient use of a vehicle. So all these things, what you have in your boot, what you have on your roof, you know, how well you service your vehicle, they all have an impact. And probably this one is the one that has the most impact, the driving style. You know, if you're careful in your use of acceleration and braking, then you're really making a big difference. So if we, perfect choice, driving style. So, but if you zip around, you know, heavy leaded foot, can make a big difference per year. I would almost say that might be an underestimate of the impact of that. But anyway, and whether you use the fan or windows or aircon. So if you always use your aircon, again, that's a big drain on your fuel. So substantial amount of money that can be saved just by doing these simple things. So we obviously want to convert to electric or move away from cars entirely, but there are things that we can do with our current vehicles that can make a difference. All right, so hopefully that was helpful just to provide some. Let's go into the electric vehicles. How are we doing for time? Not too bad, I think.
Sorry, just obviously questions. If you've got any questions as we're going through a couple of these examples, and you know the links, and you know we're getting a bit deeper now. If you've got questions, chuck them in, and we'll answer them either at the end or as we go. Yeah. Just a reminder.
And you know, the main thing about going through this is just to show where you can find more information. So it's just really to encourage the use of these action pages. What we'll do here is just this is a very useful tool that ECA developed with one of our members, Optifleet, quite a few years ago now, but it's obviously been enhanced on an ongoing basis. And it's basically a vehicle total cost of ownership tool. So you can compare vehicles. Quite complicated, so I'll run through really quickly in terms of this, but just to give you an idea as to what this tool is and how it can be used. So let's just choose a couple of manufacturers. Let's get Toyota down here and apply the filters. I don't expect you to follow all this, but this is just to kind of give you an idea as to what this tool provides. We'll also change some of these. You can change the cost variables. This probably needs a slight update in terms of the fuel price is higher now than it was when this was last updated. So you can add that. You can add information about how often a car is likely to be used, the term, particularly for a lease vehicle, and also for electric vehicles, what's your cost of electricity. So let's just say it's 15 cents per kilowatt hour, if you're lucky enough to have that good a deal. So we'll just apply those things. And now I can just quickly select a few vehicles here. So let's choose, say, a sedan and go further down here. And hopefully there's where's the electric Ioniq that I want to find? Here we go. That's the one. That's a fully electric Ioniq. And further down, where's the Toyota plug-in and a Prius plug-in hybrid, which is actually the model we've got, SBN, that we get from Toyota. So thanks to them for their support there. So this then provides the comparative results for each of those vehicles, and it estimates the total cost over the term for the vehicles, and it allows obviously you to compare. So you can tell I'm not pushing electric vehicle, unfortunately, and this is the fact of life at the moment. You know, it is still struggling to provide the financial case. That's going to change pretty soon. You know, the extent of development of EVs technology and production levels is meaning that costs are falling very quickly. So we're expecting to have cost parity or price parity within the next few years. So this will really change. And if you know, there are many organizations that are making the financial case work. So don't assume this is, you know, the case for every organization. It just so happens to be based on the information that we've plugged in. And obviously there are ways of getting better deals on EVs as well, potentially. So it provides a whole heap of, you know, comparison in terms of the different aspects of vehicle use and purchase. Running costs is obviously one to be particularly, you know, mindful of. You know, fuel cost $8,000 a year as against equivalent electricity of only 1,000 or so. So you know, major difference there. So hopefully that's haven't gone through that too quickly. For those who are keen, it's a great tool to have a little play around with. It's got a database of most vehicles available in New Zealand. Cool. The other one we wanted to emphasize is car share. So this is a particular service that we're really keen to push, SBN. We've got a number of members or investors in our network who are offering those sorts of services. So we're particularly keen to emphasize that. You know, the evidence shows that where a owned car is replaced by using a car share service, might be a second household car or whatever, or a proportion of your organizational fleet, then people tend to use cars less. They use alternative modes, you know, to get around town. That might be using an e-bike or whatever it might be. using public transport or whatever. So it's actually the owning of the car that often obviously makes it easy to just hop in the car. So it's a really, good opportunity for us to cut down on our car use through this. So pull up good old EcoSite again, and they've listed a number of the car share operators. Now, these are mainly based in our major cities. So City Hop, who are the most well established over 10 years. They have large fleets in Auckland and Wellington. They offer a mix of conventional and hybrid and fully electric cars. Mevo offer similar. They're based in Wellington but are moving into other centres. And Zilch offer a purely electric only car share service in Auckland and Christchurch. So the Christchurch fleet has, I think, getting close to 100 vehicles. And the good thing to note about that particular operation is that some of the larger employers in Christchurch basically got rid of their fleet and just used the Zilch car share service. So that includes the city council down there. So really encourage any business to, as part of their, looking at how they move around, is to look at car share, not necessarily as the only solution, but as part of the solution to make a difference, really, and particularly, obviously, using electric versions. Holly, I think that was me on my bits. I mean, there is, just to say, there's obviously within each of these, there is more information. What I haven't done is not share for each of these actions. We do have case study examples. So there's over 40 different case studies in the toolbox, and we're keen to add more. So if you know of businesses, smaller businesses who are doing good stuff, we're really keen to hear. So this is just one that is using a car share service. So this is a Auckland-based consultancy service. This isn't. No, this is Isthmus, who are a landscape architect company based in Auckland, and they've been using City Hop for many years. So these are really good. They're also on the landing page, just to have a browse through. It's probably easiest to do it on the landing page because they're all in one place. But lots of really good examples of businesses doing good stuff.
And we tried to get a spread of case studies from across New Zealand, representing a variety of industries and sectors. So, and it's really interesting to see what other businesses have done and the sort of benefits they've seen so far from doing that. So I'm going to run us through a couple more actions as well, but just conscious we want some time for Q&As at the end. So flying. Flying's obviously massive. For SBN in 2019, when we did our carbon footprint, 85% of our emissions was from flying. So that's huge. And that's not even people traveling every week. We're not big flyers anyway. It's sort of the odd full day meeting or conference. So obviously we've had an interesting year last year, which has naturally meant the number of flights has reduced, and people are having to get more equipped with online technology, and there's heaps out there and available for businesses to use. So similar to what Phil said, there's just step-by-step reviewing how many flights you're taking. Can you be more efficient and do more in one trip rather than doing a regular trip every week or something? Decide if you really need to fly. Can the meeting be taken onto Zoom or something like that? Set a policy, and then we have obviously offsetting those flights that can't be taken online, or you do need like that, the value of obviously being with people as well. We're not taking that away either.
I think for 2020 is going to be remarkably different. I don't think we did a flight actually on maybe one or two, so it will be very different from most organisations, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. And then we've got some benefits, and then again, the case study. I personally like the case studies. I like hearing first-hand stories of what other businesses are doing. So Neuralite, they wanted to cut back their flights. Obviously, this happened after COVID. They've dropped about 70 flights a year. That's pretty impressive. And for every person attending online, instead of flying, the Neuralite donates $10 to a charity. So far donated 15,000. So that's pretty cool. And then quickly, the next one is encourage active travel. So obviously this has multiple benefits for our emissions reductions, but also general well-being. Getting outside and getting on a bike or walking is really good for us all. So
maybe worth going into
this one,
cycling guide just as an example of what other tools
resources are out there. Yeah, so this is from Waka Kotahi, who is also one of our partners. Great website. They've got a lot of resources as well. So how resources are get inspired.
And there's also this encouraging businesses to look to support their people to buy e-bikes. So e-bike purchase support scheme there. And this was something that we worked with Waka Kotahi on a couple of years ago. And I know that several organisations have, set up those schemes. A large number of public sector entities have, and I know many, corporates have as well. So that's worth checking out. That's a really good way, in terms of reducing, our commuting emissions, which for many office-based businesses might not be part of the formal carbon footprint of a business, but in terms of the impact, it's pretty substantial.
Absolutely. So I'm just conscious of time. But yeah, so there's over 50 actions on the toolbox, and about, I think it's around 12 or 14 under the moving people, and that's a variety of making like Phil said, making more efficient use of what you've got to upgrading to more sustainable options. So yeah, recognizing that this is a journey, but we can all make a start today.
Cool. Shall we close the tool?
One question.
Okay. Okay, this is a question from, so please, if you've got any questions, please let us know. We're keen to answer any you may have. So this is a question from the Facebook feed. How does this compare with B Corp accreditation? Well, this is a tool which basically helps any business to take action. It's not a tool that is focused on providing an accreditation, a certification for users who do use the tool. So it's quite a bit different. B Corp is more suitable for businesses who perhaps are more advanced in their sustainability journey, because it's a very robust, process, but it's got a relatively high bar. Whereas our tool is about encouraging any business to get started. But that does lead on to a related point about what we're looking to do with the tool and enhance it. So what we've currently got, what the Toolbox currently provides, is just the initial release. We are working with our partners to develop some more enhancements, more features over the next few years. We see this as a program that's going to go on for several years. So that's something we're actively doing, and there are various opportunities we have. Okay. Another question regarding any experience regarding financial incentives for taking public transport. What's the best way providing employees with monthly pass? Really good point. It's related obviously to the idea of supporting your people, employees, to commute in low impact ways, much like, you know, supporting them to buy e-bikes. One of the challenges with this is the financial, the FBT, which is a fringe benefit tax. So any benefits that an employer provides to an employee needs to be taxed. So, and at the moment, I don't think there are any exemptions. So there are some, except for an unintended one, which is often light commercial vehicles are effectively exempt from fringe benefit tax. So that's one of the reasons why we see so many large four-door utes on the road, because they're not getting charged appropriately for FBT. Anyway, so this is an opportunity with, or it should be an opportunity if to have an exemption for organisations who are providing things like free or subsidised public transport passes to their employees. And that was something I think I read within the Climate Change Commission draft advice. So that whole area of using FBT and other financial, you know, tools to incentivise change in behaviour, hopefully that will form a substantial part of, you know, the plan that goes to, or the advice that goes to the government, and what they take forward in a meaningful way.
It can also just be within the work day and getting to business meetings around town. Like at SBM, we've got a couple of Hotcards floating around that we can use whenever, if we're needing to do local travel for work purposes. So and that's yeah.
And thanks, Bridget. You've just made a comment about, I know you work in the Wynyard Quarter area of Auckland, with a number of the corporates that are based down there, and one of those, Genesis, have done a scheme where they subsidise public transport for their staff, so that's great. And we can, Joe, if you're interested in finding out more on that, then we can provide Bridget's details for that. Cool.
Any last minute questions? We're going to wrap up soon, unfortunately.
Cool. I reckon that's a wrap in terms of the questions.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. We hope you found it useful. Really keen to hear your feedback, what you enjoyed, what we could work on. This is obviously a 5-part series. So the next one is next Thursday, and like I said, we're looking into office operations, so come along to that if you're interested to understand sort of some quick wins, but also sort of some other planned priority actions you can do within your office. In terms of next steps, we would love it for you to share the Toolbox to your customers and suppliers. We really want as many people doing this as possible and creating more impact. So if it is of relevance, please feel free to do that. We're also planning to host a number of regional and or sector workshops. So these will be face-to-face events where we will really deep dive into the tool and you know, the action plans that businesses their action plans and what they can do and where they can find more information. So if you're interested in hosting one of these, either in your region or for your suppliers or for your customers, please get in touch with either one of us. In terms of what's happening at SBN, we've got a number of events coming up. We have one in Wellington next week, the Network and Connect. And then also the big thing that's happening at SBN is our annual awards. These have been going for over 15 years, I think. So yeah, this happens every year. It's really showcasing those awesome businesses and projects that are happening all around New Zealand. And we have 2 climate action related awards, the Climate Action Leader and the Climate Action Innovator. So if you have been working on some cool things, definitely encourage you to apply for them. And I think they're open for 6 weeks. So yeah, and if you've got any questions about that, also get in touch
that first stage of the awards process is quite easy to make an application. So yeah, check it out. It's good to have a look to see what opportunities there might be there.
Awesome. All right. I think that's everything. Ka kite anō, everyone. Thank you for joining in and being part of this webinar. And hopefully we see you next week.